What's going on, everybody? My name is Jason, and I want to talk about what it takes to get ready to purchase your house. It takes a lot longer than you might think. So what do I mean when I say it takes longer, and what are you actually getting ready for? One of the most important steps you're going to go through when you're purchasing a property, whether or not this is your first time or your 50th time, is making sure your financial affairs are in order. Generally speaking, we like to see that about 90 days ahead of time because it takes about 3 months to get to actually move into your house. Closing is usually about 30 days. It can take you about 30 days to find a house. If you've got more inventory and you're just really good at what you're looking for, great. But typically we shop through about 2 or 3 weeks. If there's any bit of downtime that's in between there, that's a big part of it as well. And then about a month to potentially prepare just to go shopping if you have to get certain fares for financial things in order and things like that. But I want to give you a real life example of why it's important to do these things ahead of time. So with his permission, I have a client of mine who recently purchased a house. He called me that morning. We were under contract that day. It is totally possible to be in a house in less than 30 days. However, we ended up finding out about 2 or 3 days into the process that there were some issues on his tax return due to the nature of which he works. If you are a W-2 employee, meaning you work for someone, your finances are going to be a little bit easier. But if you are self-employed, for example, typically you need about 2 years worth of tax returns just to be able to justify what you actually do. In his case, he's kind of semi-retired, and so he's kind of in that self-employed sort of situation. Well, some of his taxes weren't claimed appropriately, and after he just started looking at it and thinking about, well, I know I made X, my tax returns are saying this, that doesn't quite add up in his brain. We almost had a real bad moment where he realized that there's something on his taxes that are wrong, and then the government's going to get involved if we have to get it, fixed back up. Potentially a lot of back taxes that are due, especially when you're self-employed. So after we looked at it, he talked to his financial counsel, and that's one thing I do want to iterate real fast. This is just my experience. This is not my expertise. This is just what I have seen and why I encourage my clients to get their finances in order as soon as you possibly can, to avoid circumstances just like these. So this particular case, we were about to back out of the contract. It was a perfect house for him. We were super excited, but within about 3 days, we had to decide whether or not we're going to completely just dump this off and leave. Well, if we did, he's going to lose a little bit of money and then potentially lose this house because there was already a couple people who were interested in it. Not necessarily, lots of offers, but definitely some interest. So we ended up that we were about to back out. We ended up changing our mind. We held on to it, decided to go ahead and move a few financial things around that worked out quite to his benefit. And so now we are currently moving forward. But if we'd have known about that ahead of time, we probably could have looked at that without the stress of a house as well. I think if he were to say the same thing, it was a really stressful moment for him, but he was a trooper. He did a great job. We helped guide along the way, and that's really what we're here for, is to just help you try to navigate these weird waters of buying a house, financing it, and trying to figure out what's the best thing to do. We're going to guide you there and make it as easy as we possibly can. Some things are just unavoidable, and it goes without saying, when you're purchasing a house, don't make any huge credit moves. In fact, it's best not to make any at all. I'll give you another really good example of how these things can completely fall apart. This is good for sellers to know as well as for buyers. It is difficult to determine or to control every potential opportunity out there that could derail a deal. We had one in particular. My clients were the buyers of a property. They had to sell their property first in order to buy the property. That's pretty standard stuff. Well, the sellers who were giving the property to my clients were doing the same thing. They had to sell that property in order to buy their next one, which is in another state. So you can start to see there's a lot of dominoes here that could potentially fall. Well, what happened a couple days just before we were about to close on ours, my client's house that they were selling, their purchasers, their buyers, decided it would be a good idea to go ahead and lease a car. Well, they had been told not to buy a car because that's going to hit your credit, but they didn't think that leasing was going to be one of those things. It very much still affected their credit and almost killed the deal, and would have been this huge domino effect that would have gone probably 3, 4, 5 people deep, completely wrecking everybody's thing. Lots of money would be lost. It would have been really, really bad. There's no way we could have determined that was going to happen. That's completely unavoidable, but those things happen. Thankfully, they were a retired couple. All they had to do was simply take out more of their retirement out of their 401ks and things like that, their investment vehicles, and basically supplement the income that they had lost against their credit. So it was fixable. Oftentimes these can be fixable. I had one gentleman in particular had $45,000 in back taxes due. We still managed to be able to figure out a way to get him into a house, but these things are important to look at ahead of time. So I rambled on long enough. I just want to see what you think about it. Have you experienced anything like this before? These are just the way that I see it. And let me know in the comments and we'll talk to you then. See ya.